Hi everyone, thank you for joining in. We'll be starting in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Hi everyone, please join me in welcoming Ananya Khanna, Head of Marketing and Product at Songdew for our last masterclass of this series on Amplify Your Reach, Promotions and Partnerships. Over to you, Ananya.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Drishti, for inviting me to do this. Before we go ahead, it would be great to know from all of you if you have anything in particular that you're expecting from this session, so that I can probably talk about that. Otherwise, I have like a small deck that I would share. So in case there are any particular things that you would want to talk about, it'd be great. I see Abhishek.
Yeah, hi Ananya. I have actually followed Songdew quite closely on Instagram, and I keep following all the reels which you guys do for music promotion. Be it
Okay.
pitching the playlist and all these activities. If you can, talk about all the various aspects by which musicians can also look at, sync licensing opportunities through Songdew to brands and stores. And apart from the process of music distribution, what all are the other avenues to earn money for upcoming artists through Songdew?
Okay, sure. I will cover that during the session. So I think that's cool. Anything else? Deep man, yeah.
Hi, Ananya. Yes, so I'd like you to shed a little light on this in general on Spotify space. I mean, playlisting, user-generated playlists, and editorials, and with or without Songdew. I mean, any insights if you can share on how we can propel ourselves in the Spotify, highlight ourselves in that space, and there are frauds and like what should we be cautious about and things like that.
Okay, got it. Cool. I'll add that bit.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm also, guys, not very good at doing this, so please feel free to, I think, raise up your hands and interact wherever you can. I have created a small deck to sort of put things in context for you guys. So starting out, I think we said that we're gonna talk about amplifying your reach, and like the last question, the thing that artists are today looking for is different ways to promote and monetize their music. But I think what is also important is just to understand how big or how small is the problem. So if you look at the number of tracks that have been releasing, they have increased from 20,000 tracks in a year to 120,000 tracks being released every single day on Spotify. So when we talk about editorial placement, just to put into perspective, in a month, maybe 100, 200 tracks in India would get playlisted. But 1 lakh songs every month from just India are being released. What happens to the rest of the tracks that go out? So what is interesting is Spotify, that it's not just the number of content that is growing, revenue that artists are generating, and the amount of music that people are streaming is also growing. In fact, some study had showed that India per se is one of the biggest streaming markets, where an individual is actually consuming music almost like 20 hours in a day. So this has, of course, led to an increase in revenues associated with streaming. But what is interesting to also see is that this growth that has happened is not very homogeneous. Almost 25% of the songs, which is 45.6 million songs, have not had a single stream on Spotify. And of course, this happens due to not enough promotions, not enough clout, or not enough placement opportunities that one gets. Which brings me to the first point of this session, which is how do you really get popular? I think in this entire bit of, trying to score editorial playlists and all that, we've sort of forgotten that why are we doing this? When it comes to making your music popular, the first thing is getting it heard. So, a lot of people talk about how Mr. A.R. Rahman's music is like slow poison. You have to hear it a couple of times and then you start liking it. And that's something that is not just true for him, it's true for a lot of music out there. There have been countless researchers which have talked about how music gets more popular. It's because once you keep hearing the same thing again and again from different sources, you start to register it more. And then you start to remember it more. And then you start to recognize it more. And then you start playing it more. And this is not something that is true only to music. It's true across when we are working on, let's say, advertising or, promoting any product as a marketing professional. Frequency and the number of people, the top of the funnel becomes a very important part of it. And so it is important that at every step, you are increasing that funnel size. The more people that you reach out to, the more people who sample your music, the more people who hear your music, the more chance it is that a percentage of them would like it. And a percentage of them would then retain it or follow you on Spotify or, become a part of your tribe. And when we do that, we often don't put a lot of thought into different kind of media that is available today to an artist. With the advent of digital and different social and different streaming platforms coming up, media has become extremely fragmented. So our reality has become quite blurry because I don't watch television. I'm sure a lot of you don't watch television. So we feel that, oh, maybe TV is not important. Or if Spotify or Apple Music is what you listen to in your car, you might feel that, radios are not important. But stats say something else. Uh, People think TV is dead, but if you look at Big Boss, I mean, it's not something that maybe you and me watch, but it is one of the highest rated TV shows. And 38 million was the reach of just one episode in one of the weeks. So imagine 38 million people tuning to a TV channel at a given point of time. It is insane. But because we don't watch it ourselves, we don't feel that that's something where our audience is. That I feel is the second myth, that independent artists a lot of time, at least from what I've spoken to, say that, my audience is not that. Or let me find my audience is only in metros or whatever. Or at least even as Songdew, we don't really believe that, because I feel music is something that relates one with everybody. And music is not categorized by genre, language, etc. It is categorized only by something that is either good and you like it or you don't like it. So a person who is in a tier 2 town or in a village can also like your music. And a person who's sitting in Delhi can also like your music. But we don't explore these avenues, especially because for a long time they were not available. TV and radio are very expensive mediums. So if you have to advertise on those platforms, it becomes extremely expensive, one, and it is very difficult to track what is the actual benefit that's happening, unlike digital. So a lot of times we end up not including that in our repertoire of promotions. But just think about it. If you, so for if you guys don't know, we have a television channel that's on.
हाँ तो सांभળી છે બહુ ફેમસ છે આ તો.
It's called Songdew TV, and it reaches about 200 million households. On Dish TV and D2H, it is one of the highest value added services. So let's say out of 200 million people that it is reaching, let's say 0.5% people are watching it, or even if like 0.05% people are watching it. How many people are you reaching if you just air your video once on the channel? And that's not true only for TV, it's also true for radio. Every time your song plays on the station, there are millions of people who've tuned in. It's just that you don't know those guys personally. But why say, like, from there you will find people who will, end up engaging or liking your music and going forward with it. This fragmentation is not just limited to like mass media and digital. Even in digital space, this fragmentation exists. We all sort of live in a very polarized state where our algorithms, the platforms that we are working on, they define what we listen to, and our worldview essentially gets shaped by them. So if you look at these three songs, I don't know if any one of you have heard the first one, or if you know what is common between the three. If there's anyone who would want to try and take a guess.
They were all released by Songdew in terms of music distribution.
No, none of them have been released by me. But what is interesting is Dhani Ho Sab Dhani is the most viewed song on YouTube for 2023, which is a Bhojpuri song. I feel like a lot of you would not have heard of it. Ve Hania is the most reeled song of this year, I think. And Man Meri Jaan is the most streamed song on Spotify. So if you see that all three platforms, they have different stars or different songs which became big. And sometimes it can be in complete isolation. Like if you are a Spotify person, you might not have at all come across Dhani Ho Sab Dhani, And if you are a YouTube person, or if you are in an area where, maybe you're in Haryana or someplace, you might not have come across Vehania. And which poses like a big problem, because if you look at the indie pop stars of 90s, which we all unanimously know, like Daler, Mehendi, etc., whoever became big that time, Lucky Ali, media was not so fragmented. So there was like a rule, no? आप एक बार टीवी पे आ जाओ, या if your songs are playing on radio, or if you are doing like these 10 things right, if your CDs are in these stores, then you've arrived. But it is now much more difficult because every platform has a different audience, and every sort of audience is kind of important to tap into. And so when we talk about digital, like a lot of you might be interested in Spotify and playlisting. I think every artist almost that we've spoken to about distribution, the first thing that they ask us is about Spotify playlisting, editorial playlisting, not just Spotify. And that's the goal, that my song should come in a playlist. But I feel that what is exactly Spotify playlists doing for you, or Apple playlist doing for you? They're doing the same thing that maybe a TV playout or a radio playout would do for you. they are all trying to get your song be sampled by different people. So whether it is, if you are, let's say, an artist who has, a community of 1,000 fans or 10,000 fans, when you release a song, your track will go to those 10,000 people. But these playlists essentially enable you to go to more people. And once I as a user hear that song, then what I do with that song is actually the goal. Like, do I like it? Do I listen to it again? Do I add it to my playlist? Do I go and follow you on Instagram? What do I do? And the thing is that in most of the cases, you don't do anything, because what happens is that today, in a day, you guys would have been seeing so many ads or so many reels or so much content. You don't take action the first time you see something, which is why a 360-degree plan is what is more important. So imagine that somebody saw your song on TV, and then when they sat in the car, it was playing on the radio. And then when they opened up a playlist, a DSP, it was on a playlist. When all of these dots connect, is when you feel like, oh, I have now heard it, I'm now familiar with it. Oh, let me check out who this artist is. Oh, he's everywhere. So it requires you to have that kind of a presence. And that is essentially an expensive proposition, uh, which is the problem that Songdew is essentially trying to solve, where we provide you with all of these tools that you can use to get on playlists, on radio, on TV, etc. What is also interesting is which I thought just as a side way to include, is that Spotify playlists sort of do their job a little better than other platforms, simply because their algorithm is quite kick-ass. In the sense that if you are on, let's say, a Geo7 playlist, you could be happy about the fact that you are on that playlist, but the platform doesn't work on a recommendation algorithm which is this strong. So as long as you are on that playlist, you are going to keep getting your plays, but you're not going to get exposed to more audience. But what Spotify does is that once you are on a platform, once you are on a playlist, and if there are people of a certain kind who are liking your song, they work on something called collaborative filtering, where they will find listeners who are similar to you, and then they will serve the song to them too. Um, one of our artists, Vic Vision, for example, he creates music in such a niche space that maybe none of you would have heard about him. But he's doing like brilliantly on Spotify. He has, as you can see, about 300,000 monthly listeners. And he's in all kinds of playlists. But more than playlists, it is more than editorials, it is what happens after that that enables him to retain his listeners, that helps him grow. Uh, yeah, coming back to what I was saying, that this is an expensive proposition and you can't get heard if you don't put in the money. So again, as a marketing person, there's a rule that if I'm, let's say, creating an ad today and that ad costs me, let's say, 10,000 rupees to make. And if I say that I have no budget left for promotion, then I'll make that ad, and what do I do with it? I'll keep it. All of us have, at some point or the other, would have come across ads on Instagram or YouTube, or would have heard of these auctions that happen for IPL seconds, etc. The thing is that if you're spending X amount of money on anything, then you have to budget at least 3x to 5x amount for promotion. So if in totality I have, let's say, 50,000 rupees, I would never say that, okay, let me make a better ad and spend all 50,000 just creating that ad, because what do I show to people then? And that process is, that bit showing it to people is more expensive than just creation of it. A lot of independent artists feel, and I understand why, that their job is creating music. But the day you decided to be independent, I think your job sort of changes. You are actually owning your music running your music as a business. And so it becomes important that you keep all of this in your mind that, okay, if I am budgeting every time you guys are releasing music, you're budgeting, saving some amount of money to, put in to create your music. And then most of the times, the rest of it, is the expectation is that the rest of it somebody else handles. But it is your music, it is your baby, it is something that you have created. There is nobody who would care about it as much as you would. So it is important that you keep a budget that you put in promotions, because all kind of editorial pitches, etc., will always leave things up to chance. It's all subjective, irrespective of who comes to you and says what. There are so many people who are distributing music. All of them, including us, will say the same thing that, yeah, we have ties, yeah, we'll try, but we can't guarantee placements, right? Nobody can. So if you don't have any kind of backups, then you're just relying on a chance that some editorial person at Spotify really likes your music, which is not always going to be the case. Now that if you've been convinced by my argument till now and you've decided to keep a budget, uh, what becomes another challenge for artists is where do you spend it? Uh, and this is actually a tough one. I feel it would completely depend on what kind of money you have. And it doesn't always have to be large sums of money, but a lot of people have tried influencer marketing because Instagram is the way music is getting discovered in our country. But I very strongly feel that unless you have like sizable money, you have 3 to 5 lakhs to spend on influencer marketing, don't spend any money on influencer marketing, because there are two types of influencers, right? On Instagram, there are people who have the followers, who'll have some numbers, but they're not really influencers. So, they're not people who will drive me to take an action. But then there are actual influencers who, let's say, if in comedy, I say, let's say Zakir Khan shares something, I might listen to him, right? But if there is another person, anyone who's maybe any person who has like 10,000, 20,000, 80,000 odd followers, it's not necessary that I look up to that person enough to say that, okay, let me check this out on another platform. So you need to have the right kind of influencers and you need to have that in bulk, which becomes an expensive proposition. Even like you can find micro influencers who have followers in the range of 10,000 to 50,000 also, and find the right ones there. But if you don't have a significant mass, Instagram is so vast, it won't make a dent. So to make a dent, you need to have a budget. If you don't have that budget, or if you have no way to put that out there, then I would personally suggest that stay away from it. Focus on things that can happen in a cheaper or a more cost-effective manner. Private playlists are a great way, at least till Spotify is allowing you. There are a lot of playlists, curators who have come through. I think Spotify's the last update that they did, where free listeners, are gonna hear music in shuffle, has led to some sort of dent in terms of the kind of numbers you can expect. But if you have like extremely limited budget, that's the way to go, because you will have to choose which is the platform that you want to focus on, whether it is Spotify or YouTube, uh, and then decide where to spend. Spotify, if you want to spend, private curators are a great way. There are some curators who are quite good. Ensure that the deals that you're doing in a way that your song is in the top at least 5, 6, uh, in the top 5 or 6 spots, and that you are getting certain kind of numbers that people are uh, sort of guaranteeing or vouching for. There are a lot of playlists which are not active. They have the followers, but people are not listening in. So if there are curators who are not vouching for numbers, you can take that as a sign that those playlists are probably not active. And then the other way to really do it is use Instagram targeting to take people to Spotify. You can run an ad there for a budget which is as low as 500 rupees and target people on, target people in terms of the device they have, target high. See, one thought is that on Spotify, people who are using Spotify are probably people who are going to be much more tech savvy, who would have better kind of phones, devices, who would make high-end purchases. So you target those people and then take them to Spotify. The possible problem here is that your ad shows to people who are not using Spotify, then it's like waste of money for you. So you have to target it as close as you can think, not just to the people who you feel would like your music, but also to people who would possibly have Spotify if you're targeting them to that. Um, and then YouTube. YouTube is awesome. If you guys have not yet explored advertising on YouTube or Google, that is definitely something that you should see. The amount of specifics that you can go to is quite insane. You can actually target your ad to run just before independent artist video who you like or who you think sounds similar to you. You can target based on what people are listening. Again, the catch is twofold. So the more detailed targeting you do, the higher the cost becomes. And the more broad you do, the cost is lower, but then you're not really reaching out to the right people. So if you talk about, let's say, YouTube, right? If I just target that, okay, show my ad to anybody who's interested in music, you might get a view for up to 15 paisa per view. That is what you could ideally get. But if you target to say that, okay, my sound is like, let's say, Hanita Bhamri. Now, Hanita Bhamri is not very big, not very small, right? So people who are listening to her are people who are probably looking at independent artists. And you say that, okay, I want to show it just to her. Then it is possible that a view costs you more money, maybe 2 rupees, 3 rupees also. But then you're assured that these are the kind of people who you would want or who would pay that much attention to you. The other bit is that YouTube works in a very interesting way. YouTube is not just showing me content as a user of pages that I've subscribed. In fact, my homepage, or for all of you, your homepage, if you go on YouTube, would be of people or of videos from creators that you have interacted with recently. तो मतलब अगर मैंने last week if I've seen a video of, let's say, Samdesh, then it doesn't matter whether I've subscribed or not, I will be shown another video of Samdesh. So if you choose to advertise on YouTube, use shorts very effectively, because everyone who's seen your ad, you can for free you can come on their homepage if you're putting out content, quickly. But if you are not putting out content, then they don't have anything to show. And for artists, it becomes difficult to create that much content. So shorts could be a great way for you to set up reminders, right? Because you can just put out parts of your video or stories of your songs or anything like that. This is how, for those of you who don't know, this is how our promote page looks. So in case you want to take up a chance and you don't have a lot of budget, we have partnered with about 11 radio stations. We have our own television channel, so we enable you to pitch your music, and then you can, reach the programming heads directly from this page. Yeah, Abhishek.
Yeah, and just was one question regarding YouTube ads and Instagram ads.
Yeah.
Regardless of which property you invest, be it an impression property or a click property, basis your interaction with artists in recent times, what is a good duration time to invest in these ad properties to see some kind of traction flowing? Is it a week? Is it like 15 days? Is it 5 days? Like how's that? Any rough estimate on that?
So actually, there's no time duration per se, but I think there is a metric that you hit when you consistently do something for a long time. In the sense that if you are running, let's say, consistently for 15 days an ad, after that you'll see it is performing better and the algorithm also starts kicking in. So recently an artist that we work with, Roof Ikra, was he has spent certain money where he took his video views to about 400K by paid advertising. And then from 400K to 1.8 million views, YouTube took organically because their algorithm kicked in. So that sort of you'll be able to make it out, in your analytics that when you start seeing that your views are coming, when you see your analytics on YouTube, you can see how many are coming from ads and how many are coming from other sources. So as you start seeing that, okay, it is now started to come in from recommendations, then you keep doing that for a while, and then you'll see that it is sort of, taking up, that recommendation algorithm is kicked in. Okay, so the other bit or the other angle of this is monetization and how you could use brands to both make more money and get hot, because brands have those kind of pockets. So I'll just in this section, I'll just take you guys through some of the work that we have done and the kind of properties that we do, and then how you can sort of associate with it on Songdew. Uh, so the first way that brands work are by creating music IPs, like Coke Studio, like MTV Indies at one point of time, which was sponsored by Pepsi, Nescafe Basement, MG does MG Tal. What is interesting is all of these uh, IPs enable discovery and help you in creation of content and help you in getting discovered by more people. Anytime and every time we do something like this, it generally does get populated on our opportunities module, and you can come in and apply. So the last 2 seasons of MG Tal we've done through our module, and people that you again might not have heard of at all are the ones who've got selected and have got the kind of visibility that they've done. This Kinaro video has about 4 million views at this point in time. So I think that's an advantage that you could go with. Nexa, for example, is recently doing a campaign where they have been inviting entries. Of course, you do end up getting some kind of kickstart, when it comes to things like this. The other bit, and the more interesting bit, which I like a lot more, that we do is music licensing, where we allow artists, independent artists, to get their music played in the outlets of the brands. This is actually quite interesting because one, this is an alternate source of monetization where you are actually monetizing your public performance rights, which a lot of independent artists are not able to do. The second thing is that when you talk about stores like Fab India or Peppy Jeans, their footfall is so high that you end up reaching a lot more people in a very different kind of way. And what is also interesting is that if it is done right, it does get noticed a lot. So when we are going out, and pitching to these brands, we are not really pitching for an artist. We work on something called sonic branding, where we work with brands to create their brand identity through sound. And we'll fix up like a soundboard that this is the kind of music that you should play. And then again, we invite entries. So brands like Fab India, it has been extremely successful, where we have got calls, mails, everything from the users of Fab India, Fab Cafe, and they've asked for, the artists and their playlists and all of that. And artists involved have also got a lot of love and messages for something like this. At this point of time, we work with Fab India, we work with MG Motors for their stores, we work with Pepe Jeans, and we work with a couple of malls in Hyderabad. For just all of you here, we are running as we speak. Hopefully, we're gonna work with a lot more stores, but we are running a pilot as we speak with Third Wave Coffee. And I think coffee chains are the best because people come in and spend so much time that you actually end up listening to the music that is there. So that's another way that you could monetize your music. It is also a way to get heard more. And for people who are interested in anything like this, we again always host up an opportunity on the website. So you will be informed. This is for people who don't know, this is how our opportunity module looks. So anything that any brand wants to do comes up here, and then you can just apply and take it forward. Yeah, so I just had this much to share. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to take that up. Yeah, Abhishek.
Yeah. So just one question regarding IPS. Like you mentioned about Coke Studio and some of the properties which you do. IP stands for intellectual property, something like that.
Intellectual properties that these guys, the brands own, yeah.
And any so apart from Coke Studio and Maruti Nexa, any more examples you can talk about which we can look at for music IPS?
So, music IPs, you can look at Nescafe Basement, you can look at Red Bull. They do like a tour bus and then they do a discovery platform every year. MG Tal is something that we've been working on. Very soon you would hear something from JSW. Um, there is also, I think all automotive brands have a music IP, in fact. So it's not just MG and XI. There is, I don't know exact names, but Skoda has something. Another brand has, Nissan has something. So you have a lot of IPs. Of course, nobody has come close to Coke. The most successful has been Coke Studio for sure. But before that, there has been Tourist, which was a very big IP. All alcohol brands also have a lot of IPs which are related to music.
And for any collaboration to come through for an IP with any brand, be it a car brand or a liquor brand or fast food brand, for example, basically in terms of a discussion, they for the artist for whatever music they are offering to play live, they give artists an upfront fee or they use their music for a certain period of time and duration. So how does that flow in terms of a discussion with these brands, just to get an idea?
So it works in different ways for different brands. There would be brands, and it also depends on the strength of the IP. So at times, for example, MG Tal, the brand was sponsoring the production of audio and video. So artists got that support from them and then promotion of it. Uh, the another IP that we're doing there, they're licensing the song for usage. But most of the times they would license it for perpetuity, unless, especially if they're dealing with artists who are up and coming. I don't think they would license it for a particular period of time because they would want to have that ability to use it. Um, but it would really depend on different brands and what they are exactly doing.
And if they're licensing it for the entire period of time, then basically they charge the artist an upfront fee, so something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Discussion of the contract, whatever terms which are kind of mutually agreed upon.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Deep Man.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nanya, because this is related to promotion, otherwise you may let me know if the question is appropriate for the forum. I saw that I found value in the features of promotions as well as opportunities because the Songdew has a tie-ups with radio channels you mentioned, right? And distribution, I'm comfortable with my current distributor, but this is a good space, good value for me. But is it possible for you to say a few points with respect to how Songdew is differentiating in the space, distribution space, with respect to like promotions, opportunities, like how good or it's doing with respect to the other distributors in terms of providing such promotions and and
Sure.
opportunity space, because that's one point for me to quickly start exploring Songdew. It will help me ease
Sure.
the research.
Got it. So, see, I think we honestly never wanted to get into distribution. We got into distribution because the biggest need gap that we see is artists are unable to promote. So, our differentiation per se, or even like if you guys have seen our reels, ads, anything, the only thing that we talk about is uh, promote. So, it's immaterial where you're distributing with. You can come to us and only use our promotion tools also. Distribution, I feel, is quite standard across. There is nothing new that anybody can do. You have to pick a song and put it out there. We also do the same thing. Um, because a lot of artists like us, because we are based in India, so there is somebody to that you can reach out to, that there is somebody that you can talk to personally if there's a song that's coming out. But otherwise, in terms of distribution, anybody that you'll go to, we are quite in parallel to them. I think what is different is what we bring in promotions. When it comes to promotions, we, like I said, have a lot of digital tools, which would be like banners, QR codes, smart links, pre-save links, etc., that you would get. We also have these pitching tools where we are tied up with 11 radio stations, and then you have ability to promote your music on our TV channel. If you have a music video, of course, the music video can go as long as it meets the guidelines. But if you don't have a music video, then also we have quite interesting options. We have created these short format programs where one is called Track Tales, for example. So we talk about the story behind the music. Uh, there's a big research that has been done internationally where it says that people who are discovering new music, they like to either know more about the song or know more about the artist. So if you guys have time, please go check out our TV channel. The packaging of the channel has been done in a manner that, it differentiates itself from the regular music channels that have been running till now, because there people already know, you're seeing the faces of Bollywood celebrities. So you know what you're watching. But when it comes to independent music, the biggest dissonance that used to happen is that I don't know who I'm watching, right? So every time your music video is running, there are snippets that keep coming up, which are about you, spotlight, which are about your achievements, who are the band members, what are their roles, all of that keep coming in. And all our programming is made around that, where people get to know more about the artist. So, or about the song. So Track Tales is one thing where we create a whole journey of how this music was made, and we package it here, and then we upload it on our YouTube channel also, but it's primarily like a TV property. So we've created such 3, 4 such properties where people who do not have a music video can also get on TV and get access to that reach.
Sure. And may I know, like this, your channel, who are the subscribers of your channel? Is it through OTT or is it like a
It's a satellite cable channel. It
satellite?
is available on D2H, Dish TV, and all cable networks like Den, Hathway in cable.
Okay.
Yeah, TV, yeah.
Thank you. And just one quick question with respect to other, earlier I was too much focused on the playlisting area, but now I understand, like, as you said, that one has to look holistically, 360-degree marketing. If a person is listening from all sources, then probably it creates a different dent. So, but still going back to the space, do you think this, as I signed up on Chartmetrics, I signed up on Playlist Supply, I signed up on some of the other sites just to try and find curators of legitimate playlists. And however, I found some Indian lists and curators, but all the data, particularly for Indian subcontinent, was missing. No social media handles, no contacts, no websites, no emails. Do you think it's a black box, or probably it's mainly one can discover through the actual network, and still there is a
Yeah, I
legitimacy
see.
issues?
Yeah, there are. And we are working on resolving that too. Very soon on our website, you'll have like a place where you can actually chat with a playlist curator of Indian origin. Because there are a lot of platforms internationally, like Playlister Club, etc., where you can actually get international playlists. But for Indian curators, it becomes an issue. For now, in case you want to reach out to them, you can just write to me and I will give you the contacts of a couple of people. But it is a black box. I mean, there is no one place that you can actually find it. You would have to network through and then figure out who is legitimate. One ballpark rule is that you should figure out what is the number of streams that they are committing to you. That if you are going to be placed at this spot, which I mentioned earlier also, a lot of a lot of playlists, even though if they have followers, are not very active. So in those cases, they might not vouch for a certain number of plays. But for playlists which are active, they will be able to tell you that okay, a placement in this spot will give you so much of plays.
Great, great, great. Thank you. That precisely answers my question.
Thanks. Oh, yeah, Abhishek.
This is more like a, asking you for some kind of suggestion or advice because I am in a genre which is slightly niche. Like I operate in English indie rock, right? So it's not a massive genre. It's niche. It's more focused towards maybe major metros and tier two cities. Now, there's a cost attached to recording, mixing, and mastering your single. Right?
Right.
And over above that, you have to save some money for your advertising and marketing. Now,
Right.
I totally understand the point that, with so much music coming out on a daily basis, you have to find some way of getting your music heard.
Right.
If it would come down to two channels, one is Spotify playlist, like the playlist which Deepan was talking about, where you reach out to people who, playlist you and charge some amount of money, versus say Instagram ads or maybe YouTube ads, any one of them, right?
Yeah.
Which one would be a better bet, given the caveat that as a listener, if I'm on Instagram and if a new music pops up in front of me, I may not give it as much attention as opposed to my friend telling me, check out this artist, I liked it. So I might give that one more attention. Similarly, if it with regards to Spotify, yes, streams are important to get shows, and if you have good amount of monthly listeners, it might help you, in terms of pitching to say promoters for gigs or festivals. But the biggest reality of Spotify is that nobody really makes any money of Spotify because they pay about 0.00361 to for and that after 1,000 streams.
Yeah.
In both the cases, there is a certain question mark as to how much ROI will actually come out of it. Because
Yeah.
when it's Instagram ads or YouTube ads, there's a cost attached to that. And the problem is that people may not want to listen to new music through ads. They might give preference to their friends. And if I'm pushing through Spotify playlists, then even if I say get about 10,000 streams, there's a money attached to that. And actually, I won't be making any money. I might get good, brand awareness or good numbers to show to someone to pitch for festivals or to promoters. So that remains so between option A and B. Just want to understand your what would be your response.
See, it's a quite catch-22 kind of question. Um, um, See, if you have very limited budget and you can't even, if you don't have budget at all to test anything, then go for playlists.
So yeah,
Because that's for sure that's going to get you some kind of return. But if you have any kind of budget that you can put out in testing, then only you can find the answer. See, for every kind of artist, like I don't know if you have heard of Adarsh Rao. He's not in your space. He does Hindi electronic music, but I think his first song I only saw through ads, and I kept seeing that ad, just his thumbnail on Instagram for maybe like 3 months straight. I would keep seeing that ad, and it had that, that song kept playing and made me go back and listen. And it was not just me, because when I did go back and listen, I saw that it had a sizable number of plays. Now, it had not been placed into editorial till then. But after that, because he gained those kind of plays, he ended up being on all kinds of editorials for his next release. And he's been doing the same thing, I feel. I have not interacted with him personally, but that's what I feel he's done. The other kind of artists that I know who have relentlessly pursued playlists, who've not done anything else. But playlist, if you do, again, it's the same thing. If you do something once, you'll get, let's say you do something for 1 month. You are on a playlist. Somebody, let's say 3,000 people heard you. How many people will hear you and in the first go add your song to their playlist and then come back and listen to you? There is another artist that I know of. He's from Surat. Again, for 6 months straight, I think 5 playlists every month. He put money on that. And his organic, which is why I'd said that Spotify works well for niches. You have to find the right playlist, you know. But what it would do is that if you're constantly being heard by a certain kind of set of people, it's gonna use its algorithm to find similar people and start showing your content to them. But it wouldn't happen in a month. Like you wouldn't see sizable results of anything that I said in like a month or in one release. I think that's like putting really unrealistic pressure on the song, on the effort that you're putting into on yourself. So you have to see that do you have that bandwidth to do something for a sustained period of time? That's when you sort of start seeing results.
Thanks. It really, gives me some, a very good understanding as to how I can approach this. And my last question is more of a utopian question. I say that, forget about marketing, forget about ads, forget about everything else. I want to do everything organically. My music will speak for itself. I don't want to do anything because I spend money on Instagram ads. And, people have come and followed my profile for some time. And after that, they kind of lost interest and then they moved down and stopped unfollowing me.
Right.
In today's times with so much music coming out, have you seen any artist in the last 6 months who hasn't done anything, but just on the strength of their music, they've been able to get somewhere in the industry?
Yeah, yeah. It has happened with so many of them. But they end up coming to like a certain point. So for example, Chor by Just became it I don't know, after reaching a certain height, did it, did he sell the song or did anyone come into play? But at least for like the first 3, 4, 5 months, it was all organic. Chand Balia by Aditya A, when it picked up organically. And once it picked up, Sony sort of bought rights to it. And then they went and blasted it further. There's a artist called Shalom from I think Nepal. His song is doing brilliantly in India, and it came up to a point where it was doing about maybe 100K odd streams in a month, and then somebody sort of approached him. The other artist, Surat-based artist that I was talking, but he's sort of done playlisting. But these three, they've been all nobody did anything. It was happening. There's another artist called Anurag. For his first song, I mean, his first song has been the song that he sort of got recognition by in a certain circuit. And again, it grew up organically. I think the number of times that people hear that song on an average is 5, which is one of the highest that I've seen, you know. So if you ask me, it's not going to be my favorite track, but there is a certain set of audience who is going to be like, this is the kind of music that I want to hear, and they're listening to it on loop, which enables it to get blasted further.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. So if there are no more questions, I think, Drishti, I'll hand it over back to you.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. And thank you, Ananya, for taking the time to be a part of this masterclass series. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I hope it was informative for you guys.